How's it going, guys? Matt here with Merly Gaming. Today we're going to look at everything wrong with Dark and Darker version 79. Dark and Darker is obviously a pretty addictive and great game, I will say. I'm biased, but I love the game. I think it's a lot of fun. One of the funnest games I've played in a long time, and I've put a lot of hours into it. But inevitably, most people get frustrated with this game, and this is some of the reasons why. Just some of these issues, some are long-standing, some not. So I'm going to try to just bring them all up and hope that somehow either helps, or you guys can leave comments, let me know if I'm missing something and whatnot, and I'll just try to make an example of each one. Let's look at bunny hopping first. Bunny hopping is a long-standing issue. It basically allows players with certain keybinds, like binding their jump to mouse wheel, to just kind of maintain their move speed no matter what they're doing. So you can just fly across the map or run across the map while switching weapons, casting spells, whatever. It doesn't, normal things that slow you down while you're bunny hopping do not slow you down. So you can really just skill gap people by using this. We'll call it an exploit, and I don't know if they're ever going to fix this. I really do not think they will, but we all hope they will. Even people that abuse bunny hopping say this should not be in the game, and I'll try to get some video in there. The second thing is weapon swapping. Now, we've all probably seen this. You're chasing a warlock, he's got a spellbook out. Suddenly he turns around and his crystal sword's out instead. He didn't switch to it, it's just out, and he starts insta slashing you. You can do this with crossbows and stuff too. You can insta switch to your crossbow when you had a longsword out, for example. And no, the thing about this is you just, you switch the weapon slot. It doesn't use your weapon pull out time, like your weapons instant out. We're pretty sure this is an exploit as well. We'll call it an exploit or a bug or just an unintended thing, because like, what's the point of having weapon switch times when you can do this weapon swap thing and just ignore it anyway? It really puts a whole nother level of skill into the game. So it's kind of interesting that these two are like basically something you have to abuse in order to be at the highest skill cap, and they're like not even intended to be in the game. And it's just kind of frustrating because a lot of people say, well, I don't want to use exploits, I want to get naturally good. So they just never use these, and they just, they'll lose fights because of it and stuff. And it's just really unfortunate. I really wish that they would address these. Heck, stop all other development of all sorts. Fix these. Now, I will say, from a development perspective, I can say I've worked on games. I've worked on movement coding and stuff before. The bunny hopping is probably going to be hard for them to fix, because they're probably going to have to change some of their core movement codes, something about it in there. And touching that stuff can be very delicate. You change one thing, and it has unintended consequences elsewhere. So we'll hope they can figure that out. Weapon swapping, I don't know, that's probably an easy one to figure out. They just need to add some sort of thing where it actually like pulls out the weapon like it should, rather than just instantly having it out. So I think that's probably an easy one to fix. Hopefully they fix that very soon. I'm kind of just guessing here. Obviously I haven't seen the code, but it is just code and just logic, and it can be changed and it can be fixed. Make no mistake about understanding that. They definitely can be fixed. You just need a smart person to take a look at it and, make some changes. All right, let's look at the next bug. This is something that really annoys me personally. I don't even know if it's a bug, but it's after you switch to a weapon or after you pull out a weapon, if you're holding left or right click, nothing happens. You just stand there. Like, normally you're supposed to be blocking or attacking, right? But you just do nothing. So basically you got to release your click and just like re-click. So this happens to me a lot. I don't know if this happens to other people. I also don't really know if it's a bug. Maybe it's intended. But basically, I don't know, let's say you switch to a shield and you start holding right click a little bit preemptively to make sure you get your block up as soon as possible. It just does nothing. It doesn't block. So it's a little bit frustrating. You just stand there like a noob without blocking, without attacking, but really you're holding the buttons that make you do the intended thing, and it just doesn't happen. So they hopefully they just let you buffer this somehow. I'm not sure what the fix is here, or if they're ever going to fix that, or maybe it's just you need to be aware of when your weapon's ready and then click. That's probably it. So I don't even know if this is a bug. It probably isn't. It's just something that really annoys me, and I've definitely lost fights because of this, because I just stood there thinking, why am I not attacking, or why am I not blocking? And it's like, oh, I gotta release the click and click again. Even though normally you can just hold, left click and keep attacking, or hold right click and keep blocking. It doesn't seem to actuate properly, or realize that you're preemptively holding it when you switch to a weapon or pull out a weapon. So just a just a thing I wish they would improve. Kind of a personal preference, I guess. There, I'm not sure if that's a bug, but it feels like a bug when it happens, because it's like I'm holding block, it's not blocking. It feels like a bug. All right, let's look at the next one. We have some tool belt issues. So normally the hotkey is the 3 or 4. You can change it if you want, obviously, but the default is 3 or 4. So sometimes, say you press 3 to, use your tool belt, go to your tool belt. Sometimes it goes to the first item, and it's ready to go. Sometimes it flips your tool belt and goes to some other item. And it just kind of like does random things. Like the tool belt is just unreliable. So it just kind of trolls the player and makes you do awkward things like pull out campfires mid-fight. And there was a clip of someone doing it. They got a battle, and in their clip they pulled out I don't know, just mid-fight pulled out a campfire, and people harassing him in the comments like, yeah, you lost the fight because you suck. You're pulling out a campfire mid-fight. What are you doing? But really, the tool's unreliable. He could be trying to pull out a prot pot. He could be trying to switch to torch. He could be trying to switch to Franny's. Francisca axes. We don't really know, because the tool belt just sometimes flips to something else. Like when you press it once, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's just inconsistent. They really need to fix this. This bugs the crap out of me. I basically use my tool belt completely different. Like, you basically only have 2 reliable slots you can think of, in my opinion. Like, you either fill your whole left side with the same type of potion, or fill your whole right side tool belt with the same type of thing. And that's like the only way to reliably swap. You can't really use the tool belt as it's intended, because it just trolls you and will kind of not work as intended. It's kind of a minor thing, but some of these little minor things can lose you fights, and it's very frustrating. All right, next bug. There's a huge gap in the ruins map by the South Worm. It's been here for a long time. I don't know if there's any exploits or with it, but it's just really obvious, and they haven't fixed it. So I don't know. It's just there. I'm pretty sure. I haven't tested anything, but I'm pretty sure a rat could go down there, like a druid rat could probably just jump down into the gap. I'm guessing someone want to test that. I don't know. I don't play druid, but just a random thing I noticed, so I wrote it down. All right, we have some arena issues. These are, I don't know, hard to say for sure. Obviously, arena's in testing. This whole game is still labeled early access, so it's just, I think that's just almost a buzzword. I don't think it even means anything at this point. If it's not ready, don't release it. Don't put it out. It's a public game. Anyone can go play it. It's not really the definition of early access, I would say. It's a release. It's released. You pay for it, etc. Anyway, all right, arena. Sometimes you get really stacked teams, and you get like really stacked maps. I don't know if there's anything they can really do about this, but sometimes it kind of goes along with this next one. No team variation, at least swap to make classes spread, I think. Now, this might be hard to do when people are queuing as trios and then getting a pickup group. But sometimes you'll see, like, there's 2 rogues on one team and there's 2 warlocks on the other team. Just swap one of the rogues and warlocks, make it a little more even. They just don't do that. There's really just no consideration at all. It's a pretty simple programming change, in my opinion, to do something like that. It's not really that hard, and the fact that they haven't fixed that yet, or just haven't even considered it, is sort of I would almost call it a glaring issue. You gotta, if there's 2 rogues on one team and 2 warlocks on another, you have to at least do the swap, to make it a little even. I personally think that it seems very obvious. I've heard other people say it. It's just so obvious, it's that you got to do stuff like that. And that's just an example. It might be like 2 fighters on one team, 2 whatever. You just got to do a little swap there with the classes, and put like 1 of each on each class, on each team. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to do, in my opinion. I bet I could look at the code personally and figure it out within 20 minutes or less. So, programmatically, that's an easy thing to do. Just do a little swap there. So I don't know why they don't do that. Maybe there's more to it than I know. Obviously, I haven't seen the code. All right, Arena. It lets you queue with Squire gear. It lets you queue naked. Let's not do that. If you're missing an item in a slot, flat out don't let the person queue. It's pretty simple programming change there. Missing slot, no. Give it a little warning, say you can't queue, you're missing item slots, you need to, something like that. And if it's Squire gear, same thing. It's like, we see you're queuing with Squire gear. Don't queue with Squire gear. And if you have any gear on that's not minted, just flat out don't let the player queue. Honestly, why are we letting them queue? Say, hey, you need to go to a dungeon and find something for this slot. It's kind of, it gives the game a little more of almost like a forced game loop, but it's the proper one. So like people just mess it, especially in low elos. They mess this up. They lose gear. They throw the game for their team. Like it's just kind of ridiculous and very frustrating. So pretty easy changes I would think to make there to fix that. Let's see if Iron Mace can figure that out. I think they can. I believe in them. All right, and very minor thing, when you switch off arena mode, say you go to run a dungeon instead, it can accidentally, well, it just locks you into trios. When you go to arena, it puts you in trios automatically. So when you switch back to a dungeon, you're still in trios. So maybe that could just go to solos or something automatically when you switch off the mode. Because it's happened to me several times where I've accidentally queued as a solo into trios, and it's really not that big of a deal, but it can be. It can be at times, and obviously I could look at the screen better and realize it, but it's just kind of a obvious quality of life thing to not stick you in trios accidentally. I don't know. That's pretty minor, honestly, but it would be nice if they could address that. All right, and then we have some other issues. We have a long-standing issue of phasing through shields, and hitboxes really not working right with like the longsword parry riposte type stuff. So this is kind of a long-standing issue. Now it's always hard for me to tell whether it's like a desync issue or something else, but it seems pretty. There's been a lot of people testing that you can just like stab a spear through a shield. You could stab a longsword through a shield. If someone just has their shield up, you can just do it. There's also like excelling. You can just excel a weapon through shields, where you like swing to the side and then you swipe to bypass it, kind of. So I don't think that's an intended thing. I don't think that's an intended mechanic. I don't. This is maybe a tough one to fix programmatically, but really wish they would address this. This has been a very frustrating thing and I've heard a lot of people just say it's very frustrating. I personally haven't felt the frustration of this too much, but at times maybe. It's a kind of a hard one to say, but it'd be nice if they could do something to try to make that better. There's also, this kind of goes along with the issue of a lot of mobs. You can't seem to block their weapons as it would look like you could block their weapons. For me, I've mostly noticed this on the nightmare electric shield swordsman, the electric shield guy. You can't seem to block his overhead swing. I don't know why, but I have figured out that if you really stuff it, you can. Like you get right up there and like block his hand. Basically, you don't seem to be able to block his sword. You have to like almost block his hand or the hilt of his blade. So there's some issues like that. It'd be nice if they could clean those up more. The continuous dungeon system. There are some serious issues with this. Mainly, there's this issue where if you die in a dungeon, you can, as soon as you get out, you can swap to another character that you have ready, like a rogue or something, already has gear set, requeue, and get back in the same dungeon and recover everything, or recover an artifact, or a unique or something. So there's some issues where you can just very quickly rejoin your own game to kind of recoup your losses, or go pick up some item that shouldn't be able to be picked up by you because you already died in the dungeon. So obviously they just need to make it an account thing where like you can't rejoin the same dungeon on the same account. Seems pretty obvious. Seems pretty like they should have already implemented that. Why wouldn't they? You used to even be able to rejoin the same dungeon with the same character. Just a lot of oversights, some very obvious things, like if you just think about the system and do a little brainstorming about it, as a team, you would think, for example, Iron Mace, maybe they're in a meeting room talking about it. These things should come up, you would think, but they don't, and I don't know. It's very, I don't, it makes people kind of lose faith in your company a bit when you, like, don't address just very obvious things, I would say. Speaking to Iron Man, it's almost directly there. And I'm just being a bit critical because I love the game, and these kind of things do ruin the game. They make people leave. They make people say, I am not playing that again. That's ridiculous. So, if, they fix this, right? If they fix this issue where you can rejoin with the same account and get back in there and, do what you need to do, and I would highly recommend watching this video. It explains it better than I'm explaining it. People are just going to switch accounts and do it anyway, right? So it's going to be a hard one to address, I admit, but they can at least make it so the same account can't rejoin. That's a no-brainer. Definitely a no-brainer there. And maybe even do an IP thing where, like, hey, your same household IP or whatever can't rejoin, so a second account can't rejoin. And it's kind of a minor thing, there's only a 1 or 2 minute window to do this generally, if it's possible. So just doing a quick, like house IP ban or whatever, location IP ban of, hey, the people in the same location can't rejoin this. And, something like that might be pretty successful, but then you could always, like, hire a friend too to say, hey, I just died here, jump in here real quick, get in there. And if you have a friend on standby, they could do it too. So there's some serious issues here that are kind of hard to totally address, but they could do at least a few things to make it more difficult at least. And they haven't done those few basic things, which is just glaring. And, the more difficult ones to fix that I'm kind of bringing up, as, people are going to do these things. Whether I say it, whether I don't, it doesn't matter. It's kind of obvious when you think about it. People are just going to do these things. And there's got to be something to combat that. Alright, last one I kind of realized lately, this doesn't happen to me, but apparently it happens to Glocktain if you look at his latest video. Maybe not his latest video by the time you're watching this, but I'll try to leave a link. Basically, when you bring up your spell wheel, sometimes your mouse is, like, at the bottom, or at the, like, it's not in the center of the screen. It's, like, over to the right for some reason. So just another weird bug that makes spell casting tough to manage for no particular reason, just your mouse appearing in the wrong place. I haven't had this issue, I will say, but it's just another little thing, quality of life. Personally, I don't think spells work right. I can't tell you how many times I've switched to a spell, then I go to cast, and it's still on the previous spell for some reason. So I have to cancel that and then start recasting again, and then it's on the right spell. And I'm having a hard time telling if it's like, okay, I've used the spell wheel. Does it take a moment to actuate after I choose the spell? So I just need to, like, wait and not cast yet? I don't know. It's just kind of, it's a bit clunky there, and there's some issues with that spell wheel. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully Iron Mace addresses these. Let me know if you've seen any other issues. Let me know your comments down below. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully we can get this game even better in the upcoming patches. It's such a great game. So much potential. I think a lot of the potential is already realized. It's just so cool. But you really got to fix a lot of this stuff, I think, to make the game keep growing. I think it will die if these things don't get fixed. I do think that is true. It's just, you hear it everywhere. All streamers seem to rage at this game. All content creators seem to rage at this game. And it's not because, well, sometimes it's because they're raging. But also, sometimes it's just because the game's a bit broken, and it's very frustrating at times. So, yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Peace out.